Good evening, CCU East Bay folks. It is Donald here. It is late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. It is right after Friendship. I'm here recording a podcast or video to talk about a couple of referee items that we noticed tonight. Talked to the leaders about it, and I decided that it might be some good learning lessons for folks to have a look at a couple of plays. So let's take a look at the plays, and we'll talk about what I think.
Look at the hustle. My goodness. It's a playoff game. Oh! Count the basket. Look at the hustle. My goodness. It's a playoff game.
So now that we've seen the play, let me explain what actually happened and give some thoughts on what I think could have been done. So as you can see, Cannon gets the rebound and it's running down court, dishes the ball to the guy in the three-point line in the corner who shoots the ball and hits the three. But before that actually happened, Cannon actually runs Eric over. But there is no foul called, and as you see, Eric actually got knocked down and was a bit stunned. But ultimately, there was no foul call and the three-point shot counted. At that point, I asked the referees what they saw, and they felt there was no foul, so we continued on. But now that we have the benefit of the replay and watching the tape, here's the learning lessons that I want everyone to consider. Number one, as you watch the play, don't watch what Cannon does. Look at what Eric's doing. Eric's actually in pretty good defensive position, and the whole time Cannon's coming toward him, he's actually constantly backing up. So at no point did Eric actually ever step up or step forward. Cannon actually, after he passed the ball, continues on and basically just bulls Eric over. Jack, after the evening, I had talked to him. He felt Eric could have gotten out of the way, but if you watch the tape, I don't think Eric had any choice. Cannon was just barreling straight down and actually ran him over. In my opinion, that should have been what we call an offensive foul in a pass and crash type of a situation. Even though Cannon was not in the air, he made no attempt to stop and basically bowled Eric over. Eric was basically defenseless. So if there had been a foul called, and since the foul actually occurred before the guy actually took the shot, if you look at the contact, the three-pointer should not have counted. So that's number one. Number two, Jack admitted, though it's hard to tell in the video if you look at his eyes and look at the video, Jack admitted that he was actually looking at the three-point shooter or the shot to make sure it was a three-pointer versus looking at the play with Cannon and Eric. Now, admittedly, Jack's not... He did high school basketball in the past, but he never did three-person. And the actual mechanic for high school officials is if you're the official at the baseline, which is what we call the lead official, and any three-point shot in that corner is actually the what we call the trail, which should have been the official at around half court. He should have been the one looking at the three, and Jack should have been focused on the key. Again, the other thing, I think you see Bao step into the video a little bit later as the what we call center official. Bao actually could have helped out if he had seen the contact. I'm not sure if he saw the whole thing, but regardless, that's why the center official is also there, because if there is no call, he could have made the call and called it an offensive foul. So that summarizes what I think should have happened in the play versus actually what occurred. Alright guys, so we've all watched the second play. As you can see, involved Gilbert and Peter getting tangled up on the court. Gilbert inadvertently swung his elbow and hit Peter, and I believe a foul was called. Some things to keep in mind here. Obviously, there are safety things to be aware of when you're on the floor. So obviously, there was no intent from Gilbert. We see this all the time. So let's make that very clear. But I do want to point out in the future, from a referee standpoint, that if the referees had called an intentional foul on Gilbert, it could have been justified. Why? Because, you know, when you think about what is an intentional foul, the intentional foul is you think about it, was the foul actually necessary? Right? If someone's driving the basket, you try to steal the ball and slap the guy. Yeah, okay. You made a legitimate attempt to try to steal the ball and maybe just inadvertently hit him. That's fine. And you think on the other extreme, a flagrant foul is there is no attempt to play the ball, but there is a obvious intent to injure or do something to harm another player that would obviously result in an ejection. The intentional foul basically falls somewhere in between, right? You weren't intentionally trying to hurt the guy, but if, like in Peter's case with Gilbert wasn't trying to hurt Peter, but was the foul actually necessary? And honestly, probably not. It was not necessary to swing that elbow, even though Gilbert's intent was not there. So that's why it's kind of a tough one. There's kind of a judgment call that be made. But if you did call it an intentional foul, you could have justified it. And plus, we see it on tape. Knowing Gilbert as we all do, I know there was no intent. Everybody ended up happy. Right? The game ended. Peter seemed fine. I know Gilbert probably felt bad. But again, from a referee standpoint, if you think there is a foul that is not necessary, you can call it an intentional, and you're going to have to make a judgment. So anyways, those are the two plays I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. We may talk more about this at the captain's check-in on Sunday in Alameda. So for those of you who are going to be there, I will see you there. For the rest of you, we will see you next Monday. Thanks for listening, and have a great rest of your week.